Hey everyone, this is a clip from a recent episode of the Men of Steel podcast where we talk about Superman and Superman adjacent topics. If you enjoy this clip, check out the podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your shows.
We open with the Predacons have figured out that the Maximals have been able to hardwire a feed from their security cameras. And so they pretend to die.
Yeah, they stage like a fake rebellion and fight that leads to a horrible accident that kills them all.
Right. Which, knowing going into the episode, it's like, okay, they're really playing it up in it all. But on the same token, Pterosaur is a piece of shit who has betrayed Megatron multiple times at this point and continues to betray him because he is just fucking Starscream. Like, the show knows that we're Transformers fans.
Starscream, but less intelligent, to be clear.
He's so much worse, which is why they bring in real Starscream just to be like, oh, better Starscream here.
Yeah.
And a reason why Pterosaur does not make it into season 2. But, you know, it's plausible. The only part that really threw me is that, like, Scorponok is, like, on the side of, like, Pterosaur in that sequence.
That should have been the giveaway, I think, to a lot of people.
Right.
Because Scorponok's main defining trait for most of season 1 is that he's the one who stays loyal to Megatron, unquestionably. Which probably also, like, the fact that Inferno comes in and is just that, but funnier, is probably why Scorponok gets written off.
Right. Yeah, we're not going to talk that much about Inferno here, but I actually really like Inferno. He's a giant fuck up, but in a way that I really adore.
Oh, he's incredibly fun.
But yeah, so they stage this like fake death and then abandon their base. And apparently Black Arachnia has developed some kind of tech that hides the signature from their sparks so that no one can actually identify that they are still alive, and allow the Maximals to raid their base, take all the stuff they would need to get their ship able to fly again, with the intent of then attacking the Maximals and stealing the ship and flying off with it. I do have questions about how that all works based on the timeline that we see in this episode. But the big focus, and while Optimus is part of it, the big focus of this episode is Dinobot being like, well, if I go back to Cybertron, I am a criminal who was part of a massive theft of one of the great relics of our world. And I left, and you guys pursued me, and I was a turncoat and joined you when you pursued me. Like, I have nothing to go home to.
You're all going home, and I'm going to prison.
Right.
Like, forever.
And it's an interesting moment because he decides to stay, and they are like, well, we got to get the ship going. We're going to go. And he's like, I'm going to conquer this world. And it's like, well, that's kind of fucked up. I don't think that's a good idea. It's like, well, yeah, I'll probably die eventually. That won't be tomorrow.
Yeah. It does end up being interesting getting to see, and this is where the episode does get to stand out for me and where I kind of overlook a lot of the stuff that doesn't work, is you do get to see the way that all the Maximals react to thinking they've won for good. And obviously there's a lot of excitement there, but you get to see, like, especially Optimus kind of unsettled in victory of like, it's good to go home, but even to our enemies, this is an awful fate. And this is not how things should have had to go. You know, showing that even in victory, there is like decency there.
Mm-hmm. Death is on the table, but it's not necessarily what they're trying to serve. Optimus doesn't like that that's the circumstances. Rattrap loves that that's the circumstances. He's like, yay, good, fuck those guys.
He's like, fuck this, we're going to a titty bar when we get back.
Like, he almost says that in the episode. Like, he's like, there's a tiny little corner bar we're gonna go.
He says they have their chest plates off at this place where the servers have the chest plates off or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
He says, I'm taking you to a titty bar.
Cheetor, I know you're technically a child. We're gonna go see some boobs. Remember, if you like the clip, after you're done liking and subscribing, check out certainpov.com, where you can find more episodes of the show, as well as a ton of other great shows.